Hey Scorpios, and welcome to your June 2019 General Tarot Forecast. This is Sky here to give you guys hopefully another amazing reading for your month ahead. And we are coming into this time, I think, with a bit of pressure, a bit of unsureness, a bit of insecurity, and a bit of unknown, definitely. So I want to take this moment right here to establish a space for Scorpio people, and I want to reassure you that you are strong enough to overcome whatever it is that you are going through right now. The space definitely needs to be set, and I think that you need to set space for yourself as well, with the understanding that the return, the comeback, the re-emergence of something from the past is not going to define itself congruently with what happened before. So understanding that you are in your power, understanding that despite a similar circumstance arising, you have the ability to change the way that it turns out in the long run. So something about Scorpio's energy, and I talked a lot about this in May's reading, so I definitely recommend that you guys watch May's reading if you haven't already. Something odd energetically did introduce itself there, and this period of time, and I think it's the Pluto retrograde, your ruling planet is retrograde until September, I believe it is, and you're feeling that, and it has introduced something so vastly transformative and so vastly aware of what didn't work before. And here you are in June having to do quite a lot of work to understand. You have a lot of nose to the grindstone energy: 8 of Pentacles, 10 of Wands, 9 of Swords, the Sun reversed. I can definitely validate for most Scorpios that there is something within your energy that is not enjoying what your life is comprised of right now. So what your life entails, your day-to-day experience, your work life for some of you, the work you're putting into a relationship, the work you're putting into your home, something about that is not suiting your energy, okay? And I feel like there's a fatigue, or there is a tiredness that may have been going on for quite a long time now within Scorpio's energy. And it is not so much because of how hard you work or how much you put yourself through, but it's because of the nature of the work, or the nature of emoting energy is not authentic right now. And with perfect timing, Pluto goes retrograde, and we look back, we see what happened, we understand it from a new perspective, and we begin to implement new things into our lives. New things, Scorpio, do have to start coming in June. New experiences, new proof of your strength, of your energy, because you're growing in energy, and that's the interesting thing. I think a lot of Scorpios might be presenting as quite sapped of energy or quite energyless, but I sense a growth of energy within, and especially like a sacral solar plexus expansion coming in for you here. Yet the sun is reversed, and your solar energy feels like it's not being directed towards something that truly utilizes the growth of energy that you have. Okay, so for a lot of you, I do think that the job or the career needs to be looked at. King of Pentacles reversed, the Sun reversed. I like 8 of Pentacles here for you, as well as Page of Cups, as well as Page of Cups, 10 of Wands. It says to me that you have a desire to work, you have a desire to work hard and to find emotional authenticity in what you, again, emote energy toward. But there is something that is just so off. And this is the period of time that you fix it, okay? So I also sense that a lot of Scorpios are feeling betrayed. A lot of Scorpios are feeling backstabbed. You have 9 and 10 of Swords near another 10 card, 10 of Wands. And by the Sun reversed as well, it's like there's not a healing. There's not a sun rising on this difficult experience. I sense you to be very confused on how to move forward. There is a stagnation. There is a go with the flow, like I just need to be still, I just need to wait it out, I need to wait out the storm. That is what I'm hearing from Scorpio, is needing to wait out the storm. But I also sense the energy of overstaying and the energy of overcomplicating things through stagnation. So on one hand, with a Pluto retrograde, it can be difficult to suddenly change things. It can be difficult to see what needs to change and then just change it. Transformation can feel a little bit blocked. At the same time, Pluto retrograde shows very clearly what needs changing, and it does show a safe path towards changing that. Where we start to mess up sometimes with this energy is when the ego gets really wrapped around what changes it wants to see, and sometimes that deviates from what actually needs changing. Okay, so a bit of a tangent, but basically I feel Scorpio to feel betrayed and to be responding to that betrayal with stillness. And it's important to assert your values. It's important to learn control of your emotions in a positive way. Again, that doesn't mean repressing your emotions. That doesn't mean questioning and doubting the reason for feeling a certain way, but that does mean not flying off the handle. This isn't a good time for temper tantrums. This isn't a good time for cutting people off, for trying to control other people's words, trying to quiet other people because the words don't sound right to you. And then if they don't, there's like a physical example of why they should have been quiet. I do feel Scorpio to be on the edge just a little bit this month. We have Mars in Cancer, which I did a video on, and I will link that below. All the water signs' tempers can grow a little bit with Mars in Cancer. Again, Mars is a traditional ruler of Scorpio as well. So when it moves into Cancer, which is one of its debilitated signs, Scorpio and Aries, because Aries is the other sign ruled by Mars, can start to also act in their more debilitated nature. So during this time from middle May to July 1st, it's very easy for Scorpio's temper to show itself in a destructive way, or to really turn other people off, or to really push the button of this whole betrayal versus stagnation thing. So what an incredible time it is for safe space, for space where you know that you are secure, for people whom you know are not going to betray you, for people who you've known for a long time are on your side. A super, super trying time for Scorpios who have prioritized people who they've known for a long time will never actually be able to see their side of the story, or people who they know for a long time struggle with narcissism or sociopathy or some kind of personality issue that makes them unable to see anything other than themselves. I feel that Scorpio can also be narcissistic during this time, and I feel that they can really easily draw in narcissists, or that narcissists in their lives will show themselves very clearly. And that's sort of a thing, again, with all of these outer planet retrogrades. We have Pluto, Jupiter, and Saturn retrograde, and then by the end of June, it's going to Mercury is going to join them retrograde as well. So we will be having 4 planetary retrogrades moving toward July. And, there is a clarity within those retrogrades. It does show the worst side of people. It does show the issues, the flaws, the limitations, and where things went wrong. But sometimes that is so important, because there's something that I've been understanding this month for all of the signs as a sort of reassurance to some of these more difficult energies, and that deals with being oblivious. So I sense that in 2018, we had that Jupiter in Scorpio. We had a lot of things that really contributed toward a very fixated emotional injection of understanding. So emotion connecting to logic in a very fixated way. That has to change now. That needed to change earlier, but if it hasn't, you will see a lot of issues here just relating to how you combine emotion and logic. And what I was saying earlier about people who are oblivious, they really can't be during this time. The reality shows itself quite clearly, and people's worst case scenarios relating to their personality or their own tempers or emotions will be quite clear if the work hasn't been done. So for people in your life, they will show themselves quite clearly. And, it might even be a negative viewing of their personality. So just because someone's having a temper, or because someone is acting with narcissism or pain in their heart, it doesn't mean that their character is necessarily flawed, and it doesn't mean that they don't have good sides, but it does mean that they have this characteristic, and there's an acceptance that I feel everyone has to come to terms with on the character of others without trying to really change that for them. So sometimes with Pluto retrograde, what I'm learning from this specific one is that people can really want to try to change others. It displaces the self-connection of Pluto to a more external situation, and it can make other people see what's wrong with themselves and try to channel that on other people. So you're getting very fixated on the problems of other people, getting very fixated on what others are doing wrong, and trying to change that. Because there is such clarity in the flaws of others. So that makes for kind of a bit of a lethal combination when it comes to love or when it comes to happiness in relationships, just because people will really easily see each other's flaws. And if there's not a lot of desire for self-examination, it's going to be super easy for them to be like, you have this problem and you need to change that like this, without, and that like completely pushes out their own problems and projects basically onto others. And as a Scorpio, with your readings, again, that's kind of a collective theme, you are at the brunt of it. Again, you are ruled by Pluto. Both of your ruling planets, Mars and Pluto, are moving in ways that are not always easy. Mars is in a debilitated sign, and Pluto is moving retrograde in this heavy, serious, unshallow Capricorn energy. So there's a lot of weight in Scorpio. Mars and Cancer, opposition happening before too long, okay? We have to prepare ourselves as Scorpios to exercise all of the growth that we've had. There will be tests and there will be challenges. Easy to revert back to the way you were years ago. Easy to just become angry at others, to slam doors, to quiet others, to be domineering, controlling. So easy for Scorpio right now, and so easy for the own actions of Scorpio's own like inconsistent threats to really be followed through on. You get in a fight with someone that you love and you're like, I'm gonna leave, I'm gonna go, I'm never coming back, and they hold you to it. And then you realize 10 minutes after you cool off that that's never what you wanted, but you've been held to it. This type of thing, like, people will not handle empty threats well during this time. Threats in general, ultimatums in general, are very forced to follow through right now. Saturn and Pluto retrograde in Capricorn. There's no faking it. There's no like grandeur or fanfare in the whole matter of empty threats or letting our emotions control our words. Throat chakra healing. For those of you who haven't seen my benevolence tier on Patreon, I talk a lot about the chakras. I talk a lot about healing the body through the emotional energies that are coming through cosmically. I'll link that below as well. But basically what I go into there, what I went into in May and in June as well, is regarding the chakra system and regarding how our voice and our communication is so connected to the way that that energy is functioning and how it is tested during this time. And this doesn't mean that it's going to be horrendously difficult. This doesn't mean that everyone's going to struggle. But for those of us who have really struggled to grow over the last 2 years, 4 years, ever since 2015, really, when Saturn finished up in Scorpio, for those of us who are still stuck there, this time will pull us away. That's one of the main purpose of Pluto retrograde as well, is turning the time, moving on, closing a chapter. So if we're really hanging on to something that pained us from back then, or a coping mechanism or addiction or a way of emoting that was not true to who we are, we're going to get pulled away from that. And that doesn't come in the easiest way, Okay, Scorpios? And for those of you who are evolving, for those of you who have been able to have that transformation already, all that I see here for you this month is a new door opening relating to how you create, how you forge things in your life, moving forward. Hard work for all Scorpios, but Scorpios like hard work. Don't worry about it. Scorpios need hard work. Scorpios need to get their hands in the dirt, proverbially, Scorpios is not a sign that needs to lay around fanning themselves all day. It really is not. It thinks that it needs that. But again, it's a Mars-ruled sign. It needs movement, it needs activity, and it needs to be grounded in its body. Otherwise, those emotions, those angers, they really can explode out of you without being channeled. So a great time for gardening, a great time for exercise, new types of exercise, lifting weights for some of you, things that are healing to the back, like some type of water aerobics or yoga. Really important for Scorpio to get into their body and channel that energy in that way. Also, new friendships for some of you, new emotional connections, a new understanding of how money works in your life, and truly the last leg of understanding why your energy has struggled lately is here for those of us working positively, okay? So let's talk about the week to week here quickly, Scorpios. Week number 1 of June, you have the 3 of Cups rooted down by King of Pentacles reversed. Your money situation, your career situation is highly based on your networking right now. So that's really going to be an important way to aim your energy. Like, how can I network? How can I improve my relationships with people? And how can that bolster my career? Also, though, you want to make sure that you are focusing on the substance in balance with that, because I could see that some of you might also be relying too much on connections, too much on networking, too much on people coming through for you versus the actual work. And it does feel like June, it's hard to like work too hard. It's hard to like really have too much hanging over your head, too much weight on your shoulders relating to what you have to get done. And that's going to show itself clearly in the first week. You should know what you have energy for, and it would be good to really follow through on that there. You might also feel like some of your friendships or some of your platonic relationships don't have that much substance, and that could also be contributing to keeping you in codependent relationships or, fearing to leave a romantic relationship that isn't good because you feel like you don't have much else. There might be a bit of a fear to be alone, or feeling like you're going to lose your security if you're not surrounded by people. You've become more social here. You've become more connected to others, and you don't want to see yourself lose that. Likewise, that fear can prevent you from letting the people who need to leave. So do think about that, and do think about who is actually on your side. Three of Cups is usually a sign that there are people who truly care about you, and there are people who are on the same page as you and on the same side as you. So do seek those people out during this time. Week number 2, you have the Eight of Pentacles rooted down by Nine of Swords. What you're creating, what you're forging, what you're building your life off of is looming. There's something imposing about it, and you've got to crack that formula. Hopefully during this week, you've got to understand what about your job, or what about the way that you've gone about creating in your life, creating wealth, creating abundance, creating things, whatever it is. You've got to see how that has created a nervousness or a paranoia or an anxiety, and it's now about building the act of building into something that is solid and secure for you, because maybe you make a lot of money, or maybe you make a lot of friends, or a lot of progress, or a lot of beautiful things, but is it truly something good for you if it only gives you this sense of anxiety? Scorpio really has to work on its relationship with its career during that time, or with its creation as well. And not for all of you is it going to be career. Eight of Pentacles can also be like creative projects, or something that is not necessarily your 9 to 5 job. Something about that needs attention here, and it needs clear thinking, clear understanding. And if you're losing sleep over it, that's going to be an important sign that something definitely needs to change. Also, you might be losing sleep in how much you've built up a relationship. Sometimes Eight of Pentacles can be a long-term relationship, like building it and constantly forging energy, resources, time into a relationship. And that might feel like it's crumbling there. And it's going to be important to understand why, and to understand if you still need to be contributing what you have. Okay, Scorpios? Week number 3 in June, you have Ten of Swords rooted down by Page of Swords. So this is an important week for you. This is a week where you can see people's true colors, where you can see who is and isn't on your side, like we're talking about from the first week there. And also a time where you don't want to, again, be acting out of anger, out of fear, or out of control. Okay, I could see Scorpio being a bit out of control there. I can see manipulative tendencies there. Page of Swords and Ten of Swords together can indicate that someone or yourself is not out for your best interest, or is quietly betraying you. Not to spark any type of paranoia, because again, Nine of Swords can also just be you afraid that that's the case when it's not. But it's just going to be important to get out of the one-on-one aspect of manipulation or betrayal, and see the entire situation from a third party perspective, seeing it from an objective point of view, and understanding, okay, so maybe this person is manipulating me, maybe they're not. What is leading me to believe that they are? And is that valid? If it is, I need to start making changes. If it isn't, I need to look at why I cannot trust. And then based on those answers, you have a bit of a crossroads on how you want to handle that. And at that point in time, it's great to like get a reading, or to, you can look at other videos that I have, like Rejection is Protection, which I'll put below. I should make a video also on trust soon. I plan on doing that. But again, all of my details are below if you want to look. Anyway, Scorpios, that third week is a point. It's like I see a circle just drawn over that week with a lot of light and energy accumulating. So that is a week where karmic decisions can be made, and a week where important decisions probably will be made by all Scorpios in some way. So make sure you're operating with integrity, and make sure you're operating with love and honesty and transparency. And through that, you will see yourself in the most loving, abundant place despite anything around you. Week number 4, Scorpios, you have the sun reversed, rooted down by Page of Cups. Your energy is coming in. You're going to see the sun rising. You're going to see a possibility to get past what has come up, anything that is difficult or anything that has held you back. But that's coming in a roundabout way. The sun reversed is an interesting energy to work with. It's an interesting line of energy because it indicates that there is understanding, honesty, truth, and warmth, life force coming in. But it also indicates that that can be interpreted in a way that is not wholesomely positive or not easy. So sometimes when Scorpio gets into a difficult place, a rut, it can start to interpret healing energy as something that is lethal or something that is antagonistic to itself, because the death drive in Scorpio is very strong. The connection towards life's antithesis or the antithesis of life is strong for Scorpio. So when life force returns, sometimes Scorpio can block it, block out the life force. And this contributes again to certain illnesses and certain depression, fatigue, lack of inspiration, lack of motivation. You have to come into the 4th week with an emotional understanding that you are allowed to live, that you are allowed to connect to your life force, and that you are allowed to have emotional happiness and authenticity. And through that Page of Cups, through dumbing yourself down a little bit, okay? You've had to be super sharp, super smart, super intelligent, super cunning. Dumbing down your emotional expectations. And what do I mean by dumbing down? I mean removing yourself from a situation that can exploit you, and then trusting that the universe has your back and finding trust once more. So taking down the guard a little bit, taking down because when you're really guarded, again, I'm feeling like 2 of Swords energy as well. When you're really guarded, it also blocks healing energy. So you've got to sometimes block out things which are not good, but then you have to also be very coordinated in knowing when to take down that guard, when to remove that wall, because if you keep it up for too long, you also block out your own opportunities, motivations, and healing. So keep that in mind during that time. By the 4th week of June, you should come into a place where healing shows itself in some way. All right. Your central theme for the month of June, Scorpios, is 10 of Wands. So there's a lot of work here. There are a lot of things on your shoulders, and I don't want you to interpret my words there as something that is inherently stressful or something that is inherently a problem. I do think things have built up. I do think that all of a sudden in May, sort of a can of worms unleashed itself, or a lot of pent-up energy like suddenly rushed in. And always when that happens, you see this type of energy coming up. That's very commonplace during those chapters of our lives. So you're at a sacred place, Scorpio, in your own cycle, and you do have a lot of work to do here. You have a lot of understanding to happen. You have a lot of bridges to mend, perhaps, or a lot of debts to be solved, a lot of self-sabotage to be removed, a lot of guards to be taken down. There's just a lot of change that does start here, and it may not be sudden, but the hard work that you do here in June really contributes to your September, because again, Pluto moves direct in September. So June, July, and August of this year really are a linear path toward finding yourself much happier and much more successful, much more motivated, much more healthy. Okay, Scorpios, I hope this reading didn't come across negatively, but things are real for Scorpios this month, and Scorpio really has to do what's best for Scorpio and understand that that's not narcissistic, understanding that what is best for you is also not just letting your emotions drive you crazy and doing everything that you feel on a whim, that don't conflate the two, but being responsible emotionally, being not willing to stagnate in betrayal, being not willing to force yourself to do some kind of career or some kind of effort towards security that is completely not right for you, just for the security. All of these things must be addressed here. And once you set that intention, once you move into that, there is so much reward here, and there is so much possibility for new energy, new health, new abundance. Because one way or another, you've come out of May having solved something. To be a Scorpio in June, for the timeline to have crossed over, you had to survive something, and you had to also prove something to yourself. Again, we proved something to ourselves in May, and in June we start to make the appropriate changes based on that. So you've already proved something to yourself by default that you were scared to do, and that took a lot of strength. So congratulations on that. That is powerful, and don't be afraid of this time. It will see you stronger one way or another. Okay? Again, as I mentioned in the Mars and Cancer video, which you can check out below, this is sort of like the last layers period of time, the last layers of something that's been really plaguing you for a long time. And through May and June, you faced it, you are facing it, and you really can come through an eagle if you like here. Anyway, everyone, thank you so much for checking out this video. I hope you'll also check out your sun, moon, rising sign. If you would like more information, that'll be on my channel. And thank you all so much for the pre-orders for my new book, Moon Symbols. It's an ebook, and you can click the center of your screen if you would like to understand more about it or place a pre-order. It goes into your moon sign, the house that it's in, the phase it was in when you were born, and how you can utilize all of that energy for healing. So check that out. Likewise, check in the description box below if you would like to see me on other social media or connect with me in another way. Okay, Scorpios, we'll be talking soon. Much love. Bye.